Hello YouTube, this is Mahadeva the Thunder Wizard. I hope you're all doing well this magical evening in this magical universe that we live in. And it is indeed a magical place. So today, maybe I can calm down a little bit. I got a good energetic reading from somebody, which was very helpful for me. Helped me sort of come back into my body a little bit, give me a little perspective. There's still a few parts of my brain that have the little spinning beach ball saying "file not found." But if I don't think about it too hard, the objective reality is that we humans live in an absolute magical fantasy universe. And we are making a shift. I may be perhaps projecting onto everybody else the speed with which I am shifting. That might not be the case for everybody. But we are definitely shifting. No two ways about it. The shift has arrived and it is moving forward. And human beings will eventually, I don't know how long it's going to take, probably take a long time, but human beings will eventually get to the point where they are what we would consider to be demigods, gods, very powerful trans-dimensional spirits. And some other species is going to take over and take the place of humans. Which makes me wonder if there have been other species that have gotten to this place. Well, certainly Sasquatch would be one of them. But in any case, there's going to be another. In fact, as I was spending my day, I saw a squirrel running around, and I said, that squirrel in another 500 million years might be living in the same kind of society that we live in now. Because, human beings, we were once rodents, trying to avoid getting stepped on by dinosaurs. And look at us now. So instead of going off on what I have been, all the craziness about where the world is now and how everything's going to come tumbling down and everything's going to change, we can leave that for another time. What we're going to talk about today is what you want to accomplish for yourself. And we are going to take everything that you were told by your guidance counselors and even by me. When people come to me looking for help with their career guidance, things like that, I always take them through a process of imagining. Because all I'm really trying to do in that is I'm trying to find out what it is they truly want. Because that's the first thing. Most people don't know what they truly want. And that's because either you've been shamed out of it and or you just simply can't imagine a world where you could do that. So I take people on a journey and I ask them to tell me what their fantasy is. In a perfect world where you didn't have to worry about money, where you didn't have to meet anybody else's needs, where anything was possible and you only had to do what made you personally happy, what is it that you do? Right off the top of your head, what is it? And that is what people can make the most money at. So as we make this shift, we're going to be shifting out of a world where people, are making money. They have to provide a service and then they get paid money for it. And you're lucky if you get to fulfill your destiny to the universe by sharing and giving your gift, which is what your joy will be. Whatever gives you the greatest joy is actually the gift that you give to the world. And we have to be re-educated about what it means to be a value to society. We have to re-educate ourselves on that. But even the model that I have, which is following your soul desire, that's where you're going to make the most money. That's going to shift into a new direction, which is you really will have the ability to live your greatest sci-fi fantasy. So if you imagine yourself having psychic superpowers or energetic superpowers, or you can levitate, or you can fly, or you can teleport yourself, all the stuff that you see in the the comic book movies, that stuff is what's going to be real. I can't tell you when it's going to be. For some people, it's going to be starting very soon. I myself am I'm having to put on the brakes a little bit because I'm getting a little too overzealous. I'm interacting with beings who are on a completely other energetic level, and I'm acting as though I'm one of them, but I still have this 3D human body. And so I have to let it catch up a little bit. So I'm going to have to put my brakes on a little bit and go slower than I'd like to go. If it were up to me, I would rip this this human skin right off, and I would just go straight into that world. But actually, at the level that I've been going, the experiences that I've had, and the level of energy that I've been receiving, I actually can't fit it back inside my body. It's more energy than my human body and even my human chakra and energy system can handle. And so I end up short-circuiting myself and causing myself problems. But everybody's different. That's me. And other people may be more advanced than I am. And I imagine there's probably people who are further down the energetic ladder and will have to start even slower than what I do. But regardless of where you are on that path, the end result for you is going to be that you live in a fantasy world. A fantasy world where literally anything is possible. And anything is possible. You're going to live in a fantasy world where everything you imagine can be manifest in your world. You're going to evolve into a world where things happen on a telepathic level. There won't be the need for speech. There won't be the need for a lot of the physical things that we do in order to interact. You will be able to see things from a completely different perspective. You'll be able to move in and out of the stream of time. And time is like a stream. The other day I was at the beach, and at the beach I'm at, it's actually very nice. When the tide goes out, there will be these very deep pools of water further up the beach, and so the fish kind of get caught there. As the tide goes out, these big pools of, and it's really warm because the sun is like 90 degrees, and so it's really nice. You get like these natural springs that happen every time the tide goes out. So you get to walk on the beach and then sit in this like 95 degree, it's pretty wonderful. In any case, though, there's the stream of water makes its way back out to the ocean, and as I'm walking along, I can see the fish. And if I step in the water, the fish flip out and they start looking for some place to go, trying to escape me. And they don't know what's around the bend. They can only see, what's in front of them. And because I'm not in that stream, I can look down and I can see what's in front of them, what's behind them. And that's about as close as we can understand what it's like for these beings as they look at our lives. So they can see where time has gone, where time is going. They can pull themselves out, like I can pull myself, walk alongside the river and step in other parts of the river. And unlike us, we're caught in this stream of time and we have to swim through where we are. So it's challenging for us to understand, how these beings function and how they can come in and out of our time stream like they do. But you will live in a universe where you can do that. So I'm telling you a little bit about what I'm seeing is coming for us. And I'm giving you just that opportunity to stop and redefine your reality. So in the title, I've got Erasing Personal History. And understand that your personal history, which you are attached to, which your ego, if you're human like me, your ego is attached to it. You believe that you are, my name is Michael Denny. I grew up here. I am this. I do that. I'm good at this. I'm bad at that. Life has been this way for me. Blah, blah, blah. That's my personal history. And if we look at the law of weird, where you have origins, immediate, present, and the debt you have to pay in the future, the definition of who we are in this present moment is based on our history, who we think we are, our personal story. And this phrase, erasing personal history, comes from Castaneda's work, which is, some of it is absolutely brilliant. I'm considering going back and reading it again, because even though Castaneda himself was a fraud and a very narcissistic, messed up person, I would say the middle books that he wrote, his first book and his last books, but the books that he wrote in the middle were actually amazingly powerful. And I can remember reading those books and the way he would describe some of these really unbelievable ways of interacting with reality. When just by reading it and absorbing it, there were times when I was functioning that way until I stopped myself and said, that can't be possible. And then I lost that ability. So I'd be interested to go back and see, what I could learn from that again and actually expand my experience of reality. But in order for me to do that, speaking for myself, I'm sure it's going to be true for other people as well, perhaps for you. But in order for me to do that, I have to disengage from the old definitions of who I am. Because this is the problem I'm having now, which I'm finally starting to come out of, thank the gods. But the whole physical problem that I had was because my brain simply could not process the physical reality that I was experiencing that was in fact impossible based on 3D science. What I was experiencing was absolutely impossible. And so my brain couldn't handle it. And so in order for my brain to be able to handle it, I have to disengage it from what it thinks reality is. And that has everything to do with who I think I am. Because that's part of the big struggle that I'm experiencing is my identification with limited three-dimensional past human behavior. I'm moving past that now. I'm shifting into a different experience of reality, which means I can no longer identify with the kind of human being I have been. Otherwise, my brain will break. And it's no fun when my brain breaks. So, it starts with your emotions. And this is why, again, the 12 steps, I talk about this a lot, but the 12-step programs are the most effective method of shifting your cognitive wiring. And the things they focus on are, it's really a way of healing and going beyond various forms of trauma. And so the first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to take a look at your negative feelings. Shoving them down will not work anymore. If you shove your painful feelings down, they will literally, like a time bomb, explode inside of you. We had to do that to survive in times past. We had to shove our feelings down in order just to get through reality. We are going to have to resolve all of our resentments. So unfortunately, you can't just decide. I wish it were simpler, but for the average person, it's just simply not possible to just decide not to be angry or hurt anymore. It doesn't work like that. You have to acknowledge what it is you feel was done to you. You have to acknowledge the pain. And then you have to then go through a process of taking full responsibility. And in my experience, there's nothing more effective than the fourth step. The fourth and the fifth step of the 12 steps is the most powerful and effective way to acknowledge the pain of resentment and to process it and then literally let it go. So much so that it never bothers you again. And I have to say, unfortunately, most people, especially spiritual people or people who want to be spiritual, they say, I've forgiven my persecutors. But really all that's happened is that they're virtue signaling that they're not going to tell people how hurt they are, or they're going to deny to themselves how much pain that they're in or how angry they are. And then it comes out in all kinds of other ways. Then it comes out in belief that the devil is out to get you. It comes out in belief in reptilians are trying to control the universe and suck the life out of your soul. Again, I talk to anybody who has a strong attachment to the belief in, like, David Icke's stuff. There's a difference between acknowledging that there is an elite that is in fact a dark force in the world that is seeking to control us in every way. Having that awareness doesn't have to destroy my life. I don't give a crap. They can't control me. They don't control me. But I keep getting comments on my channel, people saying to me that there are evil, dark, reptilian, extraterrestrial forces who want to feed off of our energy. If you believe that, it means you have unresolved resentment. It means you have unresolved trauma. And I don't have to know anything about your background. If I run into you and you have that strong feeling, I can act like I'm psychic and I can say to you, you have gone through a challenging childhood. You went through some trauma as a child, didn't you? And I will be right every single time. There will never be a person who believes that extraterrestrial reptilian creatures who are lording over the earth and feeding off of your soul, there will never be somebody who believes that strongly, who can honestly say, I had such a great childhood and my parents loved me, and it taught me how to love myself and get through any problems, and it taught me, just to accept people exactly as they are and to love them. You'll never hear those two things happen. So if we're going to shift, we're going to have to drop all of the resentment, which means first you have to acknowledge it. You have to acknowledge that you were hurt, and then you have to believe that there are forces in the universe that want to help you heal. Most people who've been traumatized, they've been traumatized by their parents. They have ingested a belief that higher beings or beings that have more power than them don't want them to heal. Which is why, again, people believe in the devil, they believe in reptilians. Again, I'm making a distinction between the actual human narcissist black magicians who are running the world. I'm making a distinction between them and the projection on to the universe that there are false beings of light, the archons, all of that neo-Gnostic stuff. We have to be able to get specific and not conflate. You know what the word conflate means? If you don't, look it up. Conflation. It's like confusion, but worse. So people conflate human elite dark force, humans that are seeking to control the world. They conflate humans with spiritual creatures, and then they come up with extraterrestrial reptilians who want to feed off of your soul. I say this because now that I have interacted with, I don't even know how many different ET species I've interacted with, because thankfully they haven't manifested in front of me in a 3D where I can see them, because if they did, I'm sure that I would have a seizure and die on the spot. But they haven't done that, but I know that I've interacted with multiple species. And it wouldn't surprise me if there is a reptilian species. But they would be one of many. And in order for them to be light beings, they would, by nature, they would have to be loving, kind, and see people and want the best for everybody. In other words, they're not predators. The Nagas are such beings. The Nagas are actually snakes that can shapeshift into humans, but they are extremely kind, extremely loving, extremely gentle, but they're also very wise. And they also give tremendous gifts of knowledge to whomever will listen to them. So it would be very easy to conflate that into, as we've talked about before. But the point I'm trying to make here isn't to get into that stuff, because the truth is, I know almost nothing. And I'm glad that I don't, because that's not the point. It's racism, basically. When you're dealing with light beings, extraterrestrial light beings, their physical species, it would be like saying, yeah, I have black friends. Who gives a shit what color they are? They're your friends or they're not your friends. They're humans. You're all the same. Doesn't matter the specifics. When I had hair, I had jet black hair. I have green eyes. Somebody else has blonde hair. Somebody else has red hair. Who gives a crap? They're reptilians. They're cat people. They're humanoid. Who gives a crap? They're insectoid. Doesn't mean anything. Their essence is that they are highly advanced beings. And so at this point, I have no interest I won't lie to you. I have passing interest just out of curiosity, but the truth is that the benefit that I'm getting from their essence is so amazing. I could care less about any of that because they don't relate to me as a monkey. They don't relate to me as a chimpanzee. They relate to me as a conscious spiritual being. They relate to me at my essence, and I appreciate that. All right, so the question is, what are you going to do? And you don't necessarily have to write about it in the chat. This is really for you to meditate on, and you probably should. Spend some time and meditate on what if you lived in a universe where literally anything is possible. You could disappear, walk through walls, you could levitate, you could grow to be 100 feet tall, you could shoot lasers out of your eyeballs, you could travel the universe in a cocoon of light, whatever it is that really turns you on, or you're just this amazing healer. You can go around the world and you can look at people's aura and you can just, with your eyes, put energy into them and heal them. You can travel time, whatever it is. I don't need you to answer me today because that's between you and your spirit. But I want you to at least I want to suggest that you spend time meditating about living in that reality. And I guess what I'm saying is imagine living in total freedom. Not just physical freedom in 3D, but total freedom. Freedom emotionally, psychologically, energetically. Imagine you being one of those beings that travels to another planet where there's a burgeoning species, and you can share knowledge with them. You can teach them about energy. You can teach them about eternity and multiple lives. Meditate on that, because that's where we're headed. And if you're willing to do the work, meditation, energy work, but on top of that, what people, and I hate this phrase, people say shadow work, which really means looking at your negative feelings and working through them. And if you go to the thunderwizard.com lightning qigong, there is some meditations that I give having to do with the elements. And you can use the 5 elements to actually process your feelings. And you can transform them. You can transform them into something else. For instance, if you have anger, if you have fear, if you have resentment, whatever negative feeling you don't want to deal with, you can't get rid of it. Unfortunately, you can't wish your feelings into the cornfield. But what you can do is you can process them. But in order to process them, you first have to acknowledge them and feel them. But there are spiritual ways to do this. Working with the 5 elements and doing processing the emotions through all of the 5 elements is one way to do so, and I teach you how to do that at the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. By the way, we're at the point where it is, if you sign up now, between now and the end of the month, when the next month rolls around, I will refund you for this month. So you'll basically get a week free subscription if you go here. thunderwizard.com, search for the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. All right, I don't got a whole lot more to say. I'll probably just be repeating myself if I do, so I'm happy to take a look and see if there are any questions. Vincent.thunderwizard.com. He's here. He says hello. You can look at all of the amazing things that he offers on his website, Vincent.thunderwizard.com. Among others is that he's one of my Vedic astrologers. And you can get a reading from him and learn things like the mantra that you need specifically for you based on your chart. And he has a bunch of other really great stuff he can share with you. Thundra.thunderwizard.com also says hello. And she also has the website that I've just given to you. thundra.thunderwizard.com. And she has a bunch of her own services that she provides as well. Both of those people are very powerful shamans in and of themselves. Okay, what else do we got here? All right, so okay, so that's not a question. Again, Patrick of Southtown, welcome to the channel. I'm interested in your questions. If you have a question, you write the word question in all caps and then just write the question out. Or if you have an honest feeling, you can put feeling. I want to hear your questions and your feelings, because as you can tell by this, especially by this live stream, that's really the path to transformation and healing, has having an honest question that you give to the universe and being able to consciously accept and work through your feelings. Bone Man, again, I recommend you change your name, Bone Man. Honest Emotion, you brother, thank you. Love you, brother. All right, thank you, I appreciate that. Patrick, okay, yeah, talking to each other, that's not really what I want, but you don't know any better, so that's okay. All right, so I don't see any questions, so I guess this is going to be a short one. So I'll give you some time to write your questions down. In the meantime, we'll do a little bit of business here. So in order for me to keep the lights on, I do have this free YouTube channel which I offer. If you go to the channel, I recommend that you learn how to search from within the channel page. So learn how to do that. There's different ways to do that. You can put in any search term on anybody's YouTube channel and you can find out all of the videos associated with that search term. And you can also just go onto somebody's channel page and look at the playlists. And my playlists are growing all the time, so if you have any questions or you really want to see what I'm about, I strongly recommend that you do that. If you're new to energy work and meditation, you can look at the Qigong. I've got tons of free energy practices, meditations. Energy practice and meditation is going to be the most important skill going forward. More important than anything else. And I can't stress that enough. There is nothing more important than having the ability to work with energy, create energy, change energy, and of course being able to meditate, which means to be able to connect to the quantum field. You want to call it God, you can call it God, but it's really, there's a quantum field of consciousness that is in every single molecule in the entire universe. And meditation and energy work together give you the ability to tap into that. These two things I teach a lot of how to do on the free channel. Now, if you want to get serious about it, you can go here to courses.thunderwizard.com. I created that link because there's so many different courses that I have, books, courses, teachings, services. I had to put them all on one link, so it's that one. I do have some books out there in case you want to read some of the stuff that I wrote a while ago. And then, of course, we have the subscription site, thunderwizard.com. Again, I recommend the Warrior 90-Day Challenge, Lightning Qigong. And then if you're very serious about being the most powerful being in the universe, which is what I wanted, you can go here to maoshan.thunderwizard.com and learn the most powerful energy practice I myself have ever come across, I think probably in the history of human beings. In fact, I was surprised to find out that there were beings that had energy more powerful than that, and there are. And so now I'm really excited because I get to go directly to them to get my energy fixes. Now, let's see. Any questions come up since then? Creative Virgo's thrown out a question. For a Vedic chart reading, has it ever been considered to create 2 or 3 part monies installment then when final cost reading happens? No. You asking me, have I ever done that? No. because, I mean, it's not very expensive. And here's the thing, creative Virgo, one of the things that people need to learn if they want to be prosperous, which is, by the way, everybody's right. A cockroach on the floor. Hang on a second. I'm going to trap him. All right, he scurried away. He hid from me. I thought I got rid of that guy. Anyway, creative Virgo. Every single human being has innate rights, which means that the universe has to provide this for you. So they are health, happiness, and prosperity. I don't charge, I mean, somebody can't do the Maoshan right away. I understand that because I charge, a decent amount of money for that. But, I charge a very reasonable amount, and there are astrologers on my site that charge even more reasonable rates than I do. So there's literally no reason for somebody not to be able to do that. Now, I understand some people, you're a kid, you live at home, you're a student, people go through tough times. But creative Virgo, to ask that question, it means that there's something that needs to be addressed within you. If you're at that level of poverty, that you're actually asking me to split up my Vedic readings into 2 or 3 payments, that is a very bad sign. It means that you are in deep conflict with yourself. So much so that you are not able to ask the universe to provide for you. Just the basics. So if in fact somebody to get a reading, even if it's, I think it's very reasonable, they have to, it's a big deal for them. So much the better. Because the way this universe works is that you get what you put into it. If I allow you to pay me in 3 installments, it means that I don't respect you and I don't value you. And it means that I'm teaching you that yes, you're a victim. You won't have enough money. You can't afford what the average person can afford. And none of that is true. So I know a little bit about you, creative Virgo, and I recommend that the 12 steps for you, especially for you. Are you also living in, what is your living situation? Are you living with dysfunctional people? Do you have narcissistic people? Are you still living with your children or your parents or, all of that stuff? You need to be self-sufficient and healed inside. Otherwise, seriously. Anyway, I would be harming you if I said, "Oh yeah, you're that bad off. Oh yeah, you can pay me in 3 installments and then I'll give the reading." No, if it's that important to you, you know what? Anybody can find that amount of money. Anybody can find it. I'm not going to co-sign your self-imposed limitations. I'm not going to co-sign your conflict with yourself. The stuff that I learned, especially this stuff, there were times that I not only went broke, but I went into debt to learn it. It was so valuable to me that I was willing to be in debt for years to be able to learn this. That attitude is important, and when you have that attitude, the universe will provide you with the funds. But you first have to jump off the cliff. And what you're asking me to do is give you training wheels on your tricycle. You got to jump off the cliff. So the short answer is no. I'm not gonna do that. Number one, because it's meaningless to me. It doesn't serve me at all. I might as well just do it for free at that point, and I do no shortage of free stuff already. that people can take advantage of. You know, with the amount of effort, let's put it this way, with the amount of energy it takes a huge amount of energy to be waiting around while you pay in 3 installments. Think of all that energy that would go into that. If you put that amount of time and energy into learning Vedic astrology yourself, you know, you could gain more in that amount of time. So no matter how I look at it, I can't escape the feeling that, you know, if I lower myself down like that for you, I'm only helping you to stay in a less than powerful position which you deserve to be in. So anyway, sit with that and meditate that. So the short answer is no. I've never considered it, and I won't consider it. Vincent.thunderwizard.com, honest feeling. I'm annoyed at how much work and effort my Ayurvedic detox cleanse is taking. It's as much work as a full-time job. I hear you. I understand. I went through a cleansing diet period a long time ago when I was, how old was I? It's a long time ago. I think I was 30. And I ended up, I ended up having to make all of my food every day. Like I couldn't eat out. I had to have raw organic vegetables, and I had to, every day, it took me hours just to make my food. But it helped a lot. Anyway, I feel for you. Vincent.thunderwizard.com, honest feeling. I'm grateful that I'm starting to get clients more regularly. Good for you. Patrick.thunderwizard.com. That is another one of my certified astrologers, and he is a very powerful shaman in his own right, in a bunch of different ways. Anyway, go check out his website, patrick.thunderwizard.com. He says, honest feeling, great video topic, Mahadeva. You've done a lot to help me understand how to let go of the unproductive stories I used to tell myself every day. Thank you for sharing. I'm happy to hear that. Creative Virgo, honest feeling. I thank you for your brutal honesty because it is helping. I'm happy to hear that as well. Thundra, question. In regards to the myths, do you think it's possible that they were describing ET civilizations, especially in context to the ancient wars? I don't know. The ancient wars, are you saying that the ETs had intergalactic wars? I don't know if that's the case. And I could be wrong about this, so take it for what it's worth, but my belief, based on my interaction with these beings, is that they have no interest in war. I mean, it would be like, war would be like taking an ice pick and stabbing yourself in the eyeball. It would be like, why would they do that? And part of the reason for that is, and again, I don't know if this is addressed to your question. If I'm misunderstanding your question, my apologies. But part of the reason for that is that I can tell that they really deeply, deeply feel themselves in everything, especially in other conscious beings. That when they see a conscious being, it is like a precious gem. And that they benefit when that conscious being benefits. Like, it's not just that they're nice and that they're empathetic and that they're, all of those things. It's that their own empowerment, their health, their awareness, their power comes from you being empowered because they see themselves in you. So this whole idea of war, Star Wars type of, I just don't see that with them. In terms of, do the mythologies have something to do with actual human civilizations earlier? That's a possibility. I don't know. So to answer your question, I don't know. I'm rewriting and redefining a lot of things within me. And that's one I don't have the answer to. Vincent.thunderwizard.com, honest feelings. I'm confused about 5D ETs. I want to connect with them, but I'm just getting used to 4D. When I was younger, I would have loved open contact, but now I'm uncertain. Well, so we have to take a look at what the assumption of what 4D is. The truth is, we live in 4 dimensions. We have 3 dimensions plus time. That is the 4th dimension. So I know that there's a lot of people talking about 5D, and people talk about 4D as some kind of transitory state between 3D and 5D. And, you know, I mean, these are just words at this point. I personally don't connect with that understanding of how the universe works. So for me, there's 3D and then there's a jump to 5D. Because once you get out of 3D, you're automatically beyond the 4th dimension, which is time. And 3D is really 4D. I mean, I would be more accurate if I called it 4D. But 3D is a very descriptive term about what it's like in our experience. Because we usually don't think about time. We just take it as a for granted. So we don't really think about the 4th dimension of time. But we think about our 3-dimensional bodies, or, you know, I have to get up and walk over to the kitchen. It takes me, you know, space-time is, you know, 3D is a good description of space-time, which is 4D. So I don't know what you mean by that. You're getting used to 4D. I don't know what that means. So I'd be interested to know what that means. It makes me think by reading it that what you're saying is the process of recovery. So the recovery that you're going through is still part of 3D. But you have to go through it to get to 5D. So you can be fully 3D and be completely recovered. You can be in a state of enlightenment and still be 3D. 5D, whole other deal. So what you're experiencing, if I'm reading this right, is that you are making your way through the recovery process to have all of your self in 3D, and you're having, you know, you're experiencing that, and you're saying, you know, my bucket is full right now of this recovery process. I'm confused about the 5D and ETs and all that. And you and I are in the exact same boat, because I still am trying to figure it out. And unfortunately, that's my downfall. I can't figure out something I can't possibly, I wouldn't be able to possibly understand it. You know, in order for me to be at their level, I'd have to take this body off. And I actually have to be careful, because as I'm doing my journeys and my energy work, I'm actually going beyond what my physical body can handle. And so, as somebody told me, said, you have to be careful, because if you go too far, you won't be able to come back into your physical body anymore. Your brain won't be able to process where you've been, which I can remember. That's happened at least once before, where I literally couldn't process what happened, and I had to erase it out of my brain because I couldn't process it. Anyway, I hope you didn't ask a question, but there you go. Jedi Black Knight is making a comment about what the Mahabharata says and all of that. And like I said, I don't really know what to do with any of that. You know, the truth is that mythology is not literal. It doesn't mean that they can't have some literal things in it, but you know, dealing with these beings, by the way, there's at least one of them that refuses so far to communicate with me in any kind of linear language, you know, literal way. He will only communicate to me through signs and symbols, and I have to decode those symbols. You know, for instance, the other day, a black snake crawled right in front of me. And I know when I'm seeing an animal that he's put in front of me in order to get my attention. And I had to go through a whole meditative process to understand exactly what that meant. You know, going from right to left, from left to right. It was a black snake. It blah, blah, blah. I knew, you know, that, okay, now I have to go spend the whole day meditating on what this means. And so mythology is like that. Mythology is these 5D beings are seeking to give information to 3D people. So I hear what you're saying, Jedi Black Knight, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we take those things at face value. What does the chariot that goes to heaven mean? Does that literally mean a spaceship that goes to heaven? Or does it mean the mind, you know, through meditation, Kundalini, that you go to a higher realm of understanding? Does it mean both? Does it mean those two things and a third unspoken thing? This is where we're at when we're dealing with mythology. So it's really important that we don't try and take the biblical 2D interpretation and apply it to actual mythology. Because true mythology is holographic truths, multidimensional truths that are given to humans so that they can evolve. And mythology itself never gets old. So like there are stories that if I were to tell now, they would be old, they would be outdated, they wouldn't have any relevance. Mythology is mythology because it's continuously relevant. And it's relevant because the symbols have within them holographic information. So I just want to be clear on that. I'm not saying what something means or doesn't mean. I just think that we're doing it a disservice if we rush to find literal interpretation for mythology. By doing that, we miss out on what it's really teaching us. And mythology has the ability to expand us. You know, the whole purpose of mythology from a shamanic perspective is the shaman teaches by reciting the mythological story. For the average layman, they take it literally. They hear it, they see it, and they take it literally, but it gets into their unconscious mind, it gets into their DNA, literally, and it starts to, shift them. Their kids will grow up having an understanding based on the fact that the parents listened to mythology and understood it, this far. The kids will understand it a little further. So there was always the layman's understanding of mythology, and then there was the wizards' understanding. They would take it a step further, and they would, there would be times where you would have the community together, you'd have the kids and the parents, and everybody would be there, and there would be some retelling of mythology, or there might be a dance, or there might be some kind of exposition of the mythology, and then afterwards the shaman would take his students aside and say, okay, now let's talk about what the real meaning of that is. All right, what else? Vincent.thunderwizard.com. I'm getting used to interacting in physical reality. So that's what you mean by 4D. Okay. Jedi Black Knight agrees with me. All right. I don't see any more questions. I'm obsessed with the fact there's a cockroach running around in my kitchen. I'm probably not going to see him again tonight. He's probably gone for the night. But that bugs the crap out of me. It bugs the crap out of me. I literally captured one last night, and I took him, a block away and let him go. So I didn't want, and now I think he found his way back. And I don't like having to kill things, but I might have to kill some bugs. Anyway, that's it for me. I don't see any more questions. I've done all of my business. So that's it for me for tonight, guys. I wish you guys all the best. I love you all. If I've done or said anything, as always, that's been too harsh, too direct, if I've hurt anybody's feelings, my deepest apologies. And yeah, take advantage of all of the stuff that we have here. And yeah, I'm kind of loopy. I had an intense day, so I think that's it for me. All right, guys. I wish you all the best, and I will see you all very soon.
See, I've been trying to remember things, but the more I try to think back, the more it all starts to unravel. It's like I've just been dreaming this life, and when I finally wake up, I'll be somebody else. Somebody totally different.
You saw something, didn't you, Eddie?
It's all just a big joke! It's a joke!
Brought to you by Pfizer.
Excuse me, I'm lost. Can you help me? Do you know if this bus goes to the end of the line?
You know, I can't believe this. You people, you're in. I'm telling you, you're in for one big surprise. One very big surprise.